live.
Hello, good evening, good Sunday evening to everyone. Welcome to the Integrative Medicine Case Report platform, where we've been having continuous educational series on variety of topics ranging from Ayush, yoga, Ayurveda from across the world. We had people from the spiritual world. We had people talk about the science, the health benefits, and yesterday we had Dr. Sarkar. If you remember, he spoke about the clinical benefits of yoga and asanas. That was a very enlightening talk. But this Sunday evening, we have a different format and a different person from a different aspect of yoga. A lot of yoga practitioners take yoga as a spiritual exercise, and that is an important angle. So we have Dr. Gurpreet Sidhu, who is a kiwi-indian yoga teacher from SVASA. She is a yoga sadhak for more than 20 years. And Gurpreet moved to New Zealand in 2001. And then in pursuit of a spiritual upliftment, she came back looking for Himalayas and yoga spiritual journey in 2017. On a journey, she had the privilege to experience and learn various yogic teachings from different yogic paramparas, along with learning yoga therapy under Guru Shishya Parampara. Further on her journey, Gurpreet underwent intense sadhana for 2 years under her guru, Dr. H.R. Nagendra, whom we all call Guruji, and I think we are not unfamiliar with his name at all. He has been here on this platform as the Chancellor of SVASA and also the Honorable Advisor to the Prime Minister. So she is his student. And Gurpreet now, after return from the Indian Himalaya journey in 2020, continues to teach her groups in New Zealand, Auckland, alongside practicing her own sadhana under Guruji Dr. H.R. Nagendra's regular blessings and guidance. And she's been shouldering a lot of coordinating a lot of activities ranging from administrative to spiritual to educational. And she's with us, and she's actually born in Chandigarh and then moved around the world. So over to you, Gurpreet. Welcome to this platform. Please share your journey, your views, and how your perspective of life has changed, if it has. And we are all eager to, from our comforts at home on a Sunday evening, looking forward to hearing about your journey and your perspectives on as a sadhaka. So over to you, Gurpreet.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karvavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Thank you for inviting me to Yoga Scholars PGI 100 Days of Educational Series. So glad to reconnect to my roots as I spent early years of my life in Chandigarh. I'm a small sadhaka of yoga, practicing under the guidance of my guru Padam Shri, Dr. H.R. Nagendra, who is a NASA scientist turned into a yogi 40 years ago. 3 years ago, I left home from New Zealand on a one-way ticket to further deepen my practice. I've been hearing some eminent speakers giving beautiful talks on scientific aspect of health and Ayush. In my talk today, I would make an effort to share few glimpses of my learning from a sadhaka's perspective in this time that we have together. This is also actually my very first time I will be talking about my journey publicly. I hope it would be of some use and worth your time. The learnings of whole society way is for benefit. So factors like bliss, spirituality, consciousness doesn't make much sense in society, as these things cannot have any market value. Neither does it increase our bank balance. So, dimensions of higher consciousness for society doesn't hold much importance in our society. And the tragedy is that inner bliss is the only one thing that is of most important to man, and nothing else is. So, most times people in my life, if you can imagine, they want to know what I would get by meditation. Why am I doing this to myself? Some also see it as if I'm absorbed in some different religion and various different things like that. My father at one stage could not understand. Till I was limited to asanas, it was okay. But as it started to grow further, it became hard for him to come in terms straight away. And the beautiful part, sadhana didn't only change me, perspective too. In time, he had respect for my journey while I did absolutely nothing to convince him directly. The fragrance of these practices is so beautiful. No one can stay against it for long. Since meditation has no practicality, anything that is important in life has no value. Love, prayer, dhyan, God, they have no use, no use in society. So dhyan is art of removing that cloud of thoughts, that thoughtless mind is that state of dhyan. 3 years ago, when I came to India, I started my journey from rural India, where I landed hearing there were some very strong practicing yogis. And before I started my practice, I fell sick. It was the very first month of arriving there. I was hospitalized and was in an unknown new place amongst unknown people. After being in the hospital for about few days, after around the fourth day, when I was feeling very weak and fragile physically, my dream of seeking journey seemed to be shattering and collapsing. My inner strength with the weak body was also becoming weak. My attachment to my seeking journey was to such an extent that I was suffering and crying and was not prepared to let that go. One morning, a lot of surrender came as I prayed to God laying in the bed. And soon as I was able to surrender, all my pain was taken away by Sache Pacha, the universe, for it to take care further. Then how circumstances built from then on, and how one thing led to another. And I was able to get back on my feet in another month, ready to get back once again on this journey, and rest is history. So I did spend months learning and practicing in rural North India before heading to the Himalayas. Learn my practices, also healing therapies in Guru Shishya Paramparas. Long story cut short, as my travel stories, I don't think I can fit them in this time period. Up until uh, uh, I was always wanting to do as much as I could to attain depth in my spiritual state during this time, you know. So there was always that urge of, doing so many practices, always learning more. And then up until I came to South India, where I met my Guruji. Under his guidance, I practiced long and hard hours, put myself into a lot of tapas. I'm always, as you can see, I'm quite a skinny person, and I still managed to lose about 7 kgs more weight then. I was practicing more than 12 hours a day without any weekends off either. Multiple meditation techniques, asanas, chanting, savors to the cow, and all that and more. So I wanted to do, I was a doer. I believed to give it my all so that I can achieve that higher self. Our ancient sages, scriptures, may it be path of Krishna or path of Buddha, have always guided us to live a middle path. As I was heading towards one extreme, I felt that slowly the beginning of the sprouting of new seed was taking place called let go. For me as a sadhaka, I had the catalyst dhyan, meditation, and blessings of my guru. My guru, further from here, he then sent me to Himalayas for my journey. The new state of letting go happened instantly when I reached the beautiful Himalayas. As soon as I reached here, it was a very beautiful ashram in the hills. The village had about 10 families only. It was very remote, no pollution, a very clear and silent place. My mind was going, slipping into no mind state effortlessly, as if I was going high on some drug. That is the place where my letting go took place. From my very first day, in the start of my next stage of sadhana journey there. Letting go, if I look back to when I wasn't able to achieve this beautiful state, it can be very hard phenomenon to understand. When we live in the belief system of always clinging, letting go can also be very scary. Even though clinginess makes us to live life full of pain and suffering, and while letting go is a transformation of life into something which is more blissful, lighter, and happier state, we still like to follow the belief system of clinging. Letting go can be very hard phenomenon to understand when we live in the belief system of clinging. So sometimes some friends tell me that they do asanas, but meditation is very difficult, that they would probably do later sometime in life. But you know, the dhyan sadhana is not as difficult as people think. It is actually just an obstruction of not knowing and nothing more than that. Dhyan is the potential of every human being, and also it is the right of every human being. I felt that all these beautiful techniques that were given to me, that I followed and progressed over the years under good teachers who had walked the path, helped me grow step by step on the path. And they are just mere steps put together in a scientific way to enter the states of consciousness. As and when thoughts start to pause, dhyana begins. As if being with the existence while having no clouds of thoughts in between. That's the state of dhyana. Being with nature, watching a tree, not having any middle thoughts, watching waterfall, just the way it is, as it is. In my journey of more than 20 years, I felt that I practiced various techniques and various practices. The universe was kind, and I kept coming back despite my fair share of obstructions. And looking back today, I feel integration of many techniques, along with extending a lot of these techniques into my way of life, was definitely that became a skill in time that comes with discipline, and also a lot of shakti of sankalp or intention is also needed and is very important. When we are practicing with a good guru, he's also something, how in a modern day doctor, when we describe our problems to the doctor, he prescribes us medication. Similarly, guru prescribes us meditation techniques and variations and changes just like that. My Guruji has so many techniques that they have been researching on in the laboratories for more than 30 years and published so many papers and written books. And imagine when he checks the nadi and patterns of the tests in the labs, he combines the ancient knowledge and the scientific laboratory combination to minimize that modern and the ancient gap. I feel it's really beautiful. In comparison to the knowledge in books, I feel that there is little practical reality in today's world for us to understand. We have traveled far and are more scientific today as compared to the faith-based books of the past. So once again, integration of the best of both is very important. Let me speak to you along the lines of science and inner world. Journey of science is a journey of the outside world, while journey of spirituality is the inside journey, internal journey, inside world. In spirituality, we practice and experience first before gaining the knowledge of the subject. So, for example, you cannot know about your internal emotions of love, anger, excitement without first experiencing, and only then we can say we know what it is. While in science, we have no way to experience the outside world. We have to read about it first or learn about it first. So knowing should be our own hard work through our own practice and not a second-hand knowing of someone else. So these are the fundamentals I want to share with you that must be cleared in our journey first before we begin. If you see in our olden times, people came and sat for darshan of a saint, a very respectful, beautiful word, darshan, how the best translation, I guess, is visit, but I feel it doesn't do the justice to the beauty of this word darshan. So it is a culture where people sat and heard a saint talk, wisdom talks. People were simple, and their values and social way of life also in those days was such that it automatically brought a lot of surrender, faith, a lot of prayerfulness in their hearts. While in today's times, we are more philosophical and have very stimulating, inquisitive minds. We can see from YouTube videos on the questions people ask gurus. And in the olden days, people still, till date, when I was in rural India, I experienced spiritual satsangs and gatherings. They were nothing like YouTube interactions with gurus. There is nothing wrong or right, I'm saying, but what I'm saying is to bring awareness to this change of mind we have today. That inquisitive mind, it has to be brought to that like of a simple and innocent countryside person, to cultivate that faith and surrender with ease, to bring the inner knowledge and learnings into actions. We need to go within and get in touch with the self. So this journey has to be shifted from the mind to the heart. And only from there, the deeper journey to the self begins. Because knowing on the path to the self is from experience, not intellect. You see, from ancient times, our Punjab has been known as the land of spirituality. We have such rich history and culture, creativity, art, music, poems. And yet today, why don't we have any more Amrita Pritams, uh, Baba Bulle Shahs, Pai Veer Singh, Shiv Kumar Batalvis? As a society, if we can learn to do things joyfully and lovingly, not just for economical benefits, let's start choosing creativity and inspire and welcome those who does. Creativity means loving, enjoying, celebrating. Creativity is a divine element. Being meditative, doing whatever we do, keeps us connected to the God element. We need to inspire our youth, our children, towards more creativity and welcome that more and more in our Punjabi culture once again today. Meditation definitely makes way towards creativity. We can only do this much that we slow ourselves. Watching birds, nature, waterfall, just stay still. Do things slowly. Leave rush, even for some time out of the whole day. Dancing, singing, listening to nature, or even if nothing else, just listen to your breath. Then we can appreciate that Sufi song Sanson Ki Mala Mein, Simru Main Tera Naam. Dance, rejoice, and celebrate. There is so much spirituality even in the way we breathe, the breath that we inhale. It brings in life, and that when it leaves, it's death. We can experience this new form of life minute to minute. So much to be thankful about. Dhyan is a skill. You will learn a lot about yourself in further stages on how the state is created. And you're able to create that breeding ground for it. Dhyan is very delicate. One cannot force that state. It is just like sleep, we cannot force it. It is a skill we have all mastered. That is why we sleep when we want, as we coax ourselves into it. Practice of dhyan over time changed me from being mechanical, doing all the techniques mechanically, to being more human with deeper connection to the self. We meet people who can sleep anytime, anywhere, until we meet someone who has many troubles sleeping. Even if a slight sound comes, they can't sleep, or they want lights in a certain way and all that. And only then they can get some sound sleep. So if I use the same analogy of sleep to compare it with dhyan, similarly in the beginning, it is okay to make a breeding ground for it. Make all the preparations to make us settle in. Like time to do dhyan is when we are feeling the most relaxed, happy, and in great state. Happiness, blissful states, they are the characteristics of Paramatma. And also, when we are doing a sadhana, that is the time to connect with Paramatma, the temple of Paramatma. With time and practice, we can master these skills. Dhyan doesn't have any conditions that one has to be yogi for it to happen. It can happen to anyone, anywhere. While watching your kids play, waves of the ocean, sunrise. So just as someone made special pillows or sound sleep music, similarly, yogic techniques, rituals, practices are all there to bring us in that state where we can be happy, blissful, which we have forgotten how to be. But once a certain state is achieved, all these techniques are not required anymore. So there is no religion business here. It is just a holistic way of healthy living. Because we do not know how to relax, we stress ourselves the whole day like stretching a rubber band. Then towards the end of the day, when we relax, that stretch, then we feel we are relaxing. But the truth is that it's not really relaxing. It's a very ignorant way of life. Similarly, we get drunk and thinking we are in peace by losing consciousness, being numb to the feelings. Something like a doctor gives anesthesia when in pain. Losing oneself in television programs and between friends and feel that is happiness. All these are nothing more than releasing the stretched rubber band. The fact is, all these things have nothing to do with happiness. Happiness is a constructive, healthy, positive way of life, not attaching to negativity and trying to expect happiness there. So dhyana is a catalyst for happiness. Hari Om. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha. Sarve santu niramaya. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Ma kaschit dukha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, Gurpreet. Would you like to take a few questions we have on the Facebook?
Sure, I can try.
First is an endorsement. You shifted gears for our program, which was, as of now, scientific and evidence generation exercise, because our journal accommodates data which shows before and after good effects of meditation, yoga, or Ayush. But today you took everybody to a spiritual journey by exemplifying of your own experience and everything. That was really good. And you had a recipe for Punjab. You nicely noted that where have the Bula Shahs and the Amrita Prithams and the other, how can we create intellectual wavelength or intellectual energy by meditating? So you almost inspired the Punjabis and of course the rest who are listening into meditation. And this is qualified by one of the viewers by the name of Rita Isaac saying, "Ma'am, your talk has really created a sense of developing feelings for peace and tranquility. Thanks a lot for this." Another question is, what causes excessive tears or crying like feelings during meditative practice? Is this a sign of getting devoid from the self and building connection with God for communication? Or is this some side effect of meditative practice? Do you want to comment on that?
Yes. So when we start these practices, in my experience, there's a lot of cleanse that happens. So sometimes, actually, I would like to know a little bit more to understand that, whether the tears that you get. And first, before I tell you, there is absolutely nothing that is ever negative. Whatever comes during our practices, we should take it as a prasad of God. That something, some cleansing is happening, some evolution is happening. So always have that very thankful gratitude emotion towards whatever changes come. So do not resist anything. So that has to be that. And second thing is a complete surrender and faith attitude, not using, like I said in my talk, not using too much intellect. And whatever we are experiencing, let that flow. And so sometimes emotions come because of mere cleanse. In my experience, some cleansing is happening because we are usually concentrating on the outside world, and whatever is going within in the it's still there. We try to keep ourselves busy in movies, in friends, and we keep ourselves distracted. We turn our awareness away from the inside, the within, that is trying to tell us, that I'm unhappy, I'm angry, or whatever it is. So when we turn inwards, sometimes these things become very obvious. So we can start seeing emotions that are already there. And not that meditation brought sadness, or it brought all that, but it was already there, and we are just turning around to look at it. So once we start meditating, these we call it impurities. So these impurities on the physical, emotional bodies, mental body, they all, from the gross to the subtle, start to cleanse themselves one after the other. And then when we start to get more and more cleansed, I have felt that then the connection with the higher power starts to become more clear. And then the same emotions, they change into gratitude, and the same tears of grief or of sadness could change into the tears of gratitude and love. So it evolves itself. So that's why I said that maybe you need to look into it, why you what you're going through, whether it's your cleansing state, you're starting new in meditation, or whether you are able to, get in tune to the deeper within, and you're able to touch base. Um,
But the
uh,
person is apparently satisfied with your response. He says or she says, thanks, beautiful response.
Thank you.
The other question is, does meditation practice help in building resilience? And would you recommend meditation for someone undergoing depression?
Absolutely. As I was explaining, the joy factor that comes from within. So, see, in the West, in the psychiatry, in the medical field, we have worked with mental issues, which is we have been working with people with mental issues. But whereas in the Eastern ancient philosophies, we have worked in the higher states of consciousness, in a more higher evolution states. So I think these the tools that has been given to us by our ancients, uh, going on the path of meditation, it definitely bring us to address anything that is not serving us. It definitely works in time. And practicing with a teacher who uh, can help you from step to step is also very important. Otherwise, when we are very sad, it can be very hard to be in the practice. It can be torture. It can really be torture when we are suffering. There's a lot of pain here, and we need an external help of a teacher who can hold our hand and mother us through this journey. And soon we come to a stage we are very independent, and we can walk the path ourselves. We are strong enough to do that ourselves.
So for the asanas and the yoga protocols, we can find a teacher. The government has laid down the yoga level 1 practitioner, yoga level 2 practitioner. But where do we find that teacher in the world around? Since you may have inspired a lot of sadhakas now through this talk, where do they look for a teacher who can mother?
Yes. Well, in my journey, what I can talk from my experience, the teachers, the gurus come when you are ready for it. So, if we are in the primary, in the kindergarten stage, so we will get those teachers that will come and help us to learn, and the universe really assists and supports with that. And again, I'm a person of faith. I'm a person who works with a lot of surrender. And then how I spoke about my journey, how Guruji came into my life also was just not until I was ready. And so Guruji is, as we know, quite advanced and quite good. And so he came not early on in my practices, but later. So I would say, being on the path with all your sankalp, and praying for being on the path, definitely you get shown the path.
Yeah. Just a comment, because this is also a scientific forum and we run this journal, Integrative Medicine Case Reports, and we look for data. Alex, if you may know,
Alex, thank you, sir.
I
Yeah.
think he was here on our program. And
Sure.
when he described the Ashtanga Yoga, he mentioned that very little research has been done on Dhyan, Dharana, and meditation. So I was trying to map the terminology you used, blissful, mother, joyful, uh, oblivion. So we, as scientists, would like to map them into physiological correlates or biological correlates, health outcomes. So no, it's just a comment that we need to develop tools that can gauge the meditative depth, uh, the effects of meditation in health. And also the viewer asked, why do one starts to cry when he or she is getting into meditative practice? Is it bringing good change, physiologically speaking? What is spiritual scale, so to say, in a person undergoing a meditative practice or getting initiated. But we could, that's just a comment. If you want to respond, you can. Otherwise, we can.
Yes, I absolutely agree, Dr. Akshay. This is what we also do in S. Vyasa University. Guruji, in my journey with Guruji, he's always made me write down all my experiences. So whatever experiences happen, whatever, how I'm progressing. So he always wants me to, make a note. And similarly, a lot of research work has happened with many other people from the last 30 years. And SVIASA has published many, many papers that are available on our website for public to view. So definitely a very valid, comment. And this is what our university
Sure.
specializes in.
Sure. So there's another question from Smita. How to make restless kids, how to deal with them with guided meditation? Because kids would usually not very easily adhere to a meditative sermon or a practice. Difficult for kids to meditate.
Hmm.
Can the restless kids be helped with meditation?
That's right. There is the practice for kids and the practice for adults is very different. So, because the kids have a lot of energy, and we cannot expect kids to sit at one place. And like adults, you sit at one place and you're going in deeper meditative states. We cannot expect that for kids just yet. I don't know what age the child is, but then saying that there are lots of children programs that step by step we can learn how to work along and channel their energies and guide them into more mindfulness, and working with their may it be because kids also have a lot of stress these days, and I think it's more important today than it ever has been, probably, where the kids are just very busy. So we have to look for a regular practice in their lifestyle where we can basically have them learn it properly for their age related, so they can make it a part of their life, and it'll be wonderful to start in the early ages.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Gurpreet, for a lively conversation and sharing your experience. This was the first of its kind where a sadhaka or sadhika came over to our program to share some of the thoughts and take some of the questions that were posed to you. We could almost smell Guruji's philosophy and mentoring through your talk. So salute to him and we bow down to him for. I think that is also an answer for people seeking gurus. We are living in a time when a lot of contemporary, good-natured and elevated so-called or actually gurus are around. Guruji, Sri Ravi Shankar, Swami Ramdev. There are so many of other people who are coexisting with us as we know them, and they have their first order, second order disciples who can be contacted to be initiated into this program. I remain still curious in developing tools to assess and quantify the meditation and its intensity, and to also discriminate between dhyan and dharana, and then dharana and samadhi further. And I will continue to connect with you to learn, and through Guruji also. So thank you from the Yoga Scholars, PGMER, and thank you for sparing time. And I hope the viewers have taken your recipe, especially for Punjab. As you may know, there is a lot of addiction also happening around the country, everywhere, but more so here, as reported repeatedly. And I hope this is beneficial to all, and we're able to kickstart a new program, a new protocol for Punjab through SVASA. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Namaste.
much.